Hi there guys, and welcome to this tutorial where I am presenting to you Ythan's EMULauncher, which is a new open source and free to use software coded in C#. It's an EMULauncher for private servers, and it's a bit more advanced than the ones I've seen out there before. And same goes for the design. It's a lot better looking than the standard Windows application design. And the default borders that usually go with those. Right, so before I start showing you exactly how to configure this for your private server, I'm just going to tell you that this is compatible with Trinity Core and ArcEMU 3.3.5, and the CMS is WebWow 1.5, Plexus CMS, Crafted Web, Acer CMS version 2, Fusion CMS version 5, and version 6. And I'd like to thank Jesper96 for providing me with a database structure for his new CMS so that I could make it compatible with version 6 before it was actually released. Right, so once you've downloaded the zip file, extracted the files, and opened the folder, you're going to end up with this, 2 folders and 3 files. Now, the development folder, you're going to want to go here if you're planning to modify the software in some way, either graphically or just by the pure functionality of it. Launcher Gallery contains all the PSDs and all the images used in the application. Launcher Project contains all the source files for the different components. And it's all in here, so if you want to modify anything, just go ahead. I didn't really keep anything to myself. And this is the font file used for all the buttons in the application, so if you're planning to modify the PSDs, you're going to need this to actually modify the text on the buttons. Right, so let's say you're not into programming at all and you just want to make this work for your server. Then the first step is to open up this file called Ythan's EMULauncher full install.sql. Now don't ask me why there is a text file logo on it. It bugged a few days ago and it hasn't changed back since then. But it doesn't really matter because it will open up in high SQL anyway. Now make sure you open this up with the database containing both your WoW database and the CMS database for the full functionality out of it. I'm going to open it up and we're going to execute it right away. So you end up with a new database. You might want to refresh a new database which contains 2 tables. The first one is called CMS Libraries, and this contains all the information needed for the application to actually connect and identify your CMS and then extract the news out of it and display in the launcher. Do not modify this, just keep it intact. And I'd like to thank Nicholas Walker HD for helping me structuring this to make it as efficient as possible, so thank you, Nick. So we're heading over to Launcher Essentials. Now here you have to enter the values fitting your server to make it, well, to make it yours really. So I'm just going to go through all the columns real quick and explain what they are and what they're used for. So the first column is ID. Now this column is only usable if you're planning to use several data sets and swap between these, and what I mean with data sets is several rows with different values. So let's say I duplicate this row, and I just deleted it. Sorry about that. You should duplicate, not delete. Duplicate row, and now the launcher is always going to use the row with the lowest ID number. So in this case, it's this row because it has 1 comparing to 3. But let's say you want several rows and you want to swap between these values from time to time in the launcher. Then you can just have several rows with different values and just swap the IDs, because the launcher will always select a row with the lowest ID. This feature is kind of silly, and I don't think many will use it, but I provided it anyway. And if you have no idea what I'm saying at all, or if you're not just going to use this, then just delete. Just keep 1 row and keep it at ID number 1. Moving on, Launcher Ver, which stands for Launcher Version, it contains the newest available version of the launcher really. So let's say you have compiled a new version and you want the user to automatically download this and update their launcher. Then you want to put the launcher version of the newest available one in here. We're gonna put 1.1 to just show you how this works. This is the launcher download, and this is the URL leading to your newest launcher version. If you put this at 0, it will disable the entire launcher download functionality. So yeah, there are a few fields that can be disabled by putting 0 in it, but I'll be going through that once I reach those columns. Another thing to point out is that you always want to make sure this URL is accessible before editing the launcher version. Because if this is not fully uploaded yet, but this is actually edited, then the user will think that there's a new version available and download the new, but it's actually the old version because this is not accessible yet, and then it might be stuck in a downloading loop. So just make sure this is accessible before actually editing this. Okay, patch download. This contains the URL leading to your MPQ patch. Well, yeah, it will download the patch and put it in the correct folder. Make sure if you want the patches to replace themselves up in update, then make sure the patches have the same name, because if the patches have different names, then they will simply add up. So they will only replace themselves if they have the same name and are of different sizes. Same thing goes here. If you put this as 0, it will disable the function. We're going to put that as 0 because we don't have time to show that feature, but it works just fine. Yeah. Moving on, server web. This is the URL leading to your web page, and this is used by the web page button in the launcher. Same thing goes here. If you put this as 0, it will disable this function. In this case, that means hiding the web page button, but we're going to keep this at google.com. Web4 is the URL leading to your forums page. We're going to put this to AZWeb. Same thing goes here. Putting a 0 means it disables it and hides the forum button. Now, realm list. This cannot be disabled because you have to have a realm list for the user to connect to. Whatever you put in here is going to be inserted into the user's realmlist.wtf file. So make sure that is correct. Moving on, core. This is the core that you're using for your server. T stands for Trinity, and A stands for ArchEmu. So I'm just going to keep the T right here because I'm using Trinity right now, but you might as well have an A. You can also put in 0 right here if you don't have a core that is supported by the application, or you simply don't want the register and players count functions to be enabled. But we want these to be enabled, so we're going to put a T. Okay, CMS ID. This is the ID defining which CMS you're using. ID 1 stands for Azer, which is the one we're going to use to show you these features. If you're not sure which ID stands for which CMS, you can head over to CMS libraries and check right here, because here are all the IDs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and here are the CMSs. So 1 stands for Azer, 2 stands for Crafted, etc. And there are 2 for Fusion. One sec. There. And there are 2 for Fusion because there are 2 different versions and they have different values in them. So just make sure everything is correct right there. And the CMS underscore DB. This is the name of the database that this CMS uses to gather information. Mine is Azer, as you can see over here. It's called Azer, that database. Make sure this. Make sure this fits the database name, otherwise it won't gather information correctly. Last but not least, the logo file. This is the if you don't want to use the default logo, which you probably don't want to because that says Ythan's EMULauncher open source project. Then you put the name of the logo file right here. So let's put logo.png. Then it will use that file, and that file has to be placed within the files folder in the launcher folder. So put the logo right here and put the logo name right there, and it will detect it. But we're not going to use a custom logo. We're just going to use the default one. Right, then for the launcher URL, just to show you exactly how this works, we're going to use that URL to download. Right, so we're nearly done to open the launcher, but we have one thing to do, and that is to that is to open up Ythan's connection encryptor, because we have to configure the connection string to direct to your database. So let's open that up. Actually, one thing first, if you want to rename this, as you probably want to, let's say you want to rename it to example wow launcher, then you want the config file to be called the same thing, .exe, .config. So basically, yeah, you see what I mean right there. And once opening Ythan's connection encryptor, then you want to put in the name of your launcher right here. Not the config file name, but the actual launcher name .exe, and make sure to have that extension included. Open configuration file, and right here you need to edit the information so it's correct for your database. So mine is these. Yours won't be these, so just edit this to make it correct. If you're not sure what these fields actually should contain, there are tooltips that I've added. It's pretty straightforward, but I just wanted to make it as user-friendly as possible, so yeah. And if you want to edit manually, you can do so by clicking this. Whichever of these fields that are enabled will be the ones who will be saved into the configuration file once pressing save. And once you're done editing right here, you want to press save and encrypt, because if you press save without encrypting, it will save the connection string as plain text in the config file, sorry. And then each user that gets this config file will be able to read it and manually connect your database. So, well, you don't really want that, so just press save and encrypt. Okay, and then I'm going to open up the config file, and as you can see, what we get out is a cipher value, and this is encrypted by the data protection API, which is the Windows standard encryption. And that is machine specific, which means it cannot be decrypted on any other machine than the one it was encrypted on. So if you encrypt it, nobody else can decrypt it unless they're on your computer. So that makes it quite secure. Right, so now we're done to actually opening up this launcher. So let's double click. A new version is available. Example wow launcher will now update itself. Press OK. And it shows the download speed as well as the estimated time left right there. Example wow launcher was successfully updated and will now restart. OK. Initializing. So here we go. Here are all the functions. We have the about, which actually explains what this open source project is. And just keep this intact, please, not to benefit me as a coder, but to benefit ACWeb as a community, because then each user that actually uses this launcher will see where it can be downloaded from, and then maybe join the community and sign up, and yeah, we get a big community. So just keep that intact, please. Forums leads to ACWeb as we insert it into the database. Web page leads to Google as we also set it to. Register. Let's register. Let's type I am such a troll, and the password to be admin, the email to be whatever @hotmail.com, and the expansion to be whatever you have actually. Register. An account with that mail address already exists. Well, that is pretty weird. Okay, let's just change that again. Registration successful. Okay, and we're just going to check the database to see if it's actually was inserted. Yes, I am such a troll, and the hashed password and all the fields are correctly inserted as the Trinity core wants it. Right, this is the news displayed by the CMS, and why there is a ... in the end of that one is because that is longer than 24 characters. I set the highest amount to 24 characters, so it won't expand the box size. So if it's longer than 27 characters, it will add ... at the end, and just limit it to 27. Right, all the support will be given on ACWeb forums, and the bug fixes and reports and new versions as well. So head over there and sign up, and see you there. Enjoy.